good to look up to you. I always do.
Right.
Another in the series of beneficial weeds. This one could hurt a little. Hey friends, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead. Ben and Denise here. We've got a little stinging guy behind us here that we want to talk about today. It's another one of our beneficial weeds. It's amazing, you know, God's plan. Walk outside and the things you're stepping on are medicinal and can help you heal. And this is another one you'd be surprised at, and I think we might be using it. In fact, I know we'll be using it. That's why we let this plant go, because otherwise I think we would have chopped this down a while back.
Absolutely.
So what is it?
Well, we're talking about burdock. Now, burdock is in the Asteraceae family, which many flowering plants are. Now, burdock is a phenomenal herb, but it gets these little burrs on and they hurt. So a lot of those burrs that stick on you, now they're different than cockle burrs, but they do have burrs, so they can stick on you. They do hurt. So a lot of people pull these things as soon as they see them. Now, we're letting it go to seed. Y'all probably think we're crazy, but after we...
Probably be right.
Well, yeah, we are a little crazy. But after we go through some of the benefits of this plant, I think you'll see why we're letting it propagate. Now, it is a biennial. So burdock is going to basically sprout the first year into leaves. And then the second year is when it's going to shoot up and produce the flowers and the seeds, just like an onion does. Yep. Now, you want to actually propagate it fall of the first year, or you want to propagate it in early spring of the second year before it has a chance to flower. Because what happens when it flowers is all that energy, all those nutrients go up into the flowers, and it's not going to be in the roots. Now, when
you say you're propagating, you're actually digging up the roots. The roots
yes.
is what we're after.
The roots is what we're using. So the leaves and the seeds are also medicinal, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this video. The seeds are really hard to get because of those burrs. And the stems are also good. They're really high in mucilage, just like comfrey, even though it has nowhere near as much as comfrey. Okay. But the leaves can be used as well. They're very bitter. But typically, most people just dig up the roots, especially because the seeds are just really hard to get.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the one guy said that he actually put them in a bag and drove over them with his car to bust these things up to get down into the seeds. We're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that.
We can get the roots.
Okay, so the identification of this plant. Now, this one is actually what they call lesser burdock or like minor burdock. So you'll see burdock plants that have these massive leaves, and they can get like 4 to 6 feet tall.
Huge.
Yeah, massive leaves. This one is a smaller burdock, which is just fine with me, but they do the same thing. But the leaves are kind of similar to comfrey. They're a little hairy. They're not quite as hairy, but they're going to be in like a heart shape or an arrow, the shape of an arrow. But the real way you can tell burdock is by these little burrs. So you're going to see they're green on the bottom, they're kind of oval shaped, and then they're going to get purple at the top. So you really cannot misidentify this plant once the burrs come on them.
Almost looks like a little thistle flower.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And that was why, like, when I first started learning about herbal medicine, I'm like, you know, I don't know if I want to grow this plant because I just don't know if I want to deal with the burrs.
Hokey pokeys.
Exactly. And we're going to have to be careful. Once the seeds drop, we'll actually get rid of this plant. And then when we dig it up next year, we're going to have to be careful of all the burrs that are on the ground. Because remember, those seeds are in the burrs. So those burrs are still going to be on the ground. Doc Jones, who I'm learning from, jokes that he sings a hymn whenever he actually digs up the burdock root, because inevitably you're going to get some burrs.
Keeps him from cussing.
Exactly. So one thing I want to talk about before we get into it, burdock is a very safe plant, very nutritive plant. Actually in Asia, they use this medicinally, but they use it mostly for food. They actually eat the roots and they kind of boil them up and fry them up like we do potatoes. It's actually supposed to be a really pleasant flavor, so we'll have to try that sometime. Sure. But if you are taking injectable insulin, you do not want to take this plant because it can lower blood sugar. So now, if you're pre-diabetic, not on injectable insulin, or having insulin resistance, this plant's phenomenal, perfectly fine. And then you do not want to take the seeds when you're pregnant because it can cause spotting. The root's perfectly fine, the leaf is fine, it's the seeds that you want to stay away from if you're pregnant. Other than that, really not a lot of contraindications, very, very safe plant.
But we should mention, we are not doctors. This is not medical advice. Just talk to your doctors before you take any of this.
Yes, this is educational, for educational entertainment purposes only. Let me say that 3 times
That's it.
Fast. Yes, and like with any herb, you always want to talk to your doctor to make sure there's not going to be any kind of interaction, because herbs do interact with medicine. So, good point.
There you go.
So what makes this plant such a rock star? Well, this plant cleanses. It cleanses the blood, it cleanses the liver, it cleanses the kidneys. So it helps remove all those toxins that are in our bodies. So once you remove those toxins and you cleanse your blood, you cleanse your liver, you cleanse your kidneys, your body's going to get better, it's going to improve. This plant is also extremely high in minerals. So just like comfrey, it's got an extremely long taproot. So it gets deep down into the soil and gets all those micronutrients that it's really difficult for standard plants to access. So that's why it's got so many nutritive properties. It's also great, really high level for vitamin C. So if you don't have rose hips around, you don't have pine needles around, you can actually dig up burdock root and actually gain high levels of vitamin C. And you can do this in winter. If you know where your burdock plant is, you can dig up the roots in the middle of winter and still get that vitamin C benefit.
Sorry, gnats are dive bombing my eyes. Oh, they love my eyes.
You want to go do the spray?
I did.
Oh, they just love you.
They love
Yellow
me.
jackets love me and hate me, and gnats really like you.
They do. That's all right.
Yes.
It's all. They're just about done.
Yes.
We got some cold nights coming up. Bugs will be done.
They'll be done, thankfully.
Yes.
I don't mind some of the bugs, just not the gnats or
Right.
the stink bugs or the yellow jackets. So, and you can see there's actually a parasitic wasp
Yep.
on this plant right now, and pollinators do like the plant. It seems a little prickly to me, but they love it. So now, because of the mucilage, like we talked about, it's very soothing. So your whole body is lined with mucous membranes. Your nose, your digestive system, your bladder, all of that is actually, we're covered in mucous membranes. And mucilage, just like with comfrey, just like with hollyhock and mallow and marshmallow, it's very soothing. So if you have a bladder infection, if you have a kidney infection, it's going to actually soothe it. If you're having gut issues, it's going to actually soothe your gut, it's going to soothe your kidneys, it's going to soothe your bladder. And because it's a diuretic, because it's a plant that contains a lot of nutrients, because it flushes the toxins out of your bladder, your liver, your kidneys, it's going to actually help with bladder infections. And it's going to actually help also loosen kidney stones and help you with those kidney stones. It's even a uterine. It actually even helps as a uterine tonic because it cleanses. Somebody coming up? Hold on one second, y'all.
Okay, so these medicinal weeds that we're talking about, these beneficial weeds, one of the things that makes them so great is, when you're talking about plants that you plant in monoculture and they're sprayed and the soil is tilled and all that, that soil is really, really depleted. In most cases, disclaimer, in most cases. Well, the weeds, they're surviving because they're not sprayed. They're on the outskirts. They're just left alone. So they're pulling in those minerals that are naturally in the soil from things breaking down and, animal poop and all those different things. So they're pulling all that good stuff in. That's why weeds are actually an amazing source of nutrients and sometimes food, sometimes medicine. But as you can see, this one's just kind of out here in the wild. Not that we spray anything anyway, but you're not going to find a burdock plant out in the middle of a cornfield. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be tilled up and sprayed and done. But
Yeah, these are not commercially farmed. Most
Absolutely
of your medicinal weeds are not commercially farmed.
Right.
So they still retain their nutritive properties.
Yep.
Yes. So that's what's so great about them. One of the uses and benefits of this plant, we talked about the mucous membranes, and you've got a lot in your gut. A lot of people that struggle with Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome really get help from this plant because it soothes it. And if you take this with an antispasmodic, and we can talk about that in another video, but there's multiple antispasmodics on the market. If you take this with an antispasmodic, it has really helped people with symptoms of ulcerative colitis and some other digestive issues. Now, one of the things, the leaves on this plant are bitter. So typically people will boil it a couple of times and that seems to take out the bitterness. But one way it also helps aid digestion. So about 30 minutes before you eat, you can actually soak the leaves in a tea. Now, I recommend doing a cold infusion, and that's basically taking the leaves, breaking them up a little bit and soaking them in cold water for 12 to 24 hours. It's the same way we do for comfrey. Ben's done that. You don't typically want to do these in a hot infusion. You can, but because of the mucilage, it's going to come out really gooey and slimy, and it's just not, it's not going to be good.
It's not nice.
No, so you can chew the leaf, which, whew, that's going to be bitter. But you can also just soak this in a cold infusion tea and take it about 30 minutes before you eat. And because it's so bitter, your body's going to produce more saliva, and it's going to produce digestive enzymes, and it's going to increase those. So if you eat 30 minutes later, it's already activated, and it's just going to actually help aid your digestion. So if you're struggling with indigestion or heartburn frequently, you might want to try doing a like a bitter tea. Like I said, it's going to be bitter, but it's really going to aid in that digestion. Oh. So another thing it can do, arthritis, sciatica, back symptoms, any anti-inflammatory conditions, burdock is phenomenal for. Now, again, it cleanses your body, it cleanses your blood, it purifies your blood, it gets rid of the toxins in your liver and kidneys, and that's going to help reduce inflammation in your body. And you're probably catching on to a pretty, to a consistent theme here, right? Which is that it cleanses the body and it helps remove the toxins. Now, we take up a lot of toxins in this country. The standard American diet is really deficient in nutrients. We've got a ton of chemicals. And if you look at a good majority of the food in our department stores, grocery stores, it's not food. And your body doesn't know how to break that down because it doesn't consider it real food. And you can see this on, when you're looking at processed foods, it's 30 ingredients long, and 2 of them might actually be something your body can recognize. So that comes out in our skin. So once we get overloaded with these toxins, our liver and our kidneys, which are actually what helps purify our bodies, it removes the toxins from our bodies, that's its job, it gets overloaded and it can no longer do that. So then that shows up in our skin, eczema, psoriasis, things of that nature. It kind of acts as a third, like an additional liver or kidney trying to get rid of the toxins.
Think of the oil filter in your car.
Yeah.
Filter, it goes through, cleans it out. Once that thing gums up, it's got to go somewhere. Well, now it's in your skin.
Exactly. So now you're having all these issues. Well, because this cleanses and purifies, it's going to help with that psoriasis and that eczema because your body's going to be able to get rid of all those toxins that it doesn't recognize in your body. So it's phenomenal for that. They're doing studies now, and these are actual medical studies. I know a lot of people are like, well, herbs don't work. Herbs actually do work, and there's actually scientific studies to back up a lot of herbs.
It takes patience.
Yes, it does take patience. Well, and you also have to have the right people doing it because, unfortunately, a lot of our medical studies are funded by the pharmaceutical company creating the medicine.
That sounds like a big, deep rabbit hole.
That's a big, deep rabbit hole that we're not getting into today.
Tumbling down the rabbit hole.
But you have to be careful of some of these studies. But They are studying a lot of herbs. And burdock is one that they are studying. And what they're finding is it's actually killing cancer cells. And it's doing really well for breast cancer and prostate cancer and other cancers. and it's killing those cancer cells.
Yep.
This is a safe, nutritive plant, and because it's so safe, you could actually take this daily. So if you wanted to dig up the roots, make a powder, you could add that to your smoothies in the morning, or, you know, juice or whatever, and you could take this daily. And because we know that it's actually showing signs of killing cancer cells, removing toxins in our body, this is something that I think really all of us should be taking on an almost daily basis just to help our bodies.
Don't book a plane flight anytime soon.
Why?
You're talking about killing cancer.
Oh, yeah, I'm like,
Put in the comments if you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, well, I'm not a
This is entertainment purposes only.
Yes, yes, not a doctor. All right, so you can see, great plant. You can actually use this for earaches too. I know onion juice is typically what people use. I know Doc Jones loves onion juice, but you can take these and actually make a cold tea like we talked about before, stick it in the ear, leave it in for about 10 minutes, and it's supposed to actually really help take care of earaches. Another great property of this plant is it contains inulin. The roots contain inulin. Now, inulin is a prebiotic fiber. The good bugs in your system can digest it. Now, we cannot, but they do, and they eat it up and they love it, and it feeds that good gut bacteria, which we need to remain healthy. Now, this also helps increase bile production in the liver. So we ask about, okay, well, how does it help remove toxins from the liver? It actually increases bile production of the liver, helping you flush out the bad toxins, the bad chemicals that we tend to eat and just, you know, breathe in every single day. It also helps get rid of radiation and heavy metals in the soil. So it's actually an incredible, phenomenal plant. So, like I said, not the friendliest plant, but very beneficial. Now, we will typically use plantain because I feel like it works really well and I don't have to deal with burrs. But if you get a bee sting or an acute rash like poison ivy, something of that nature, you can take the leaves and actually make a poultice with it and put it on those bee stings to help. Like I said, we typically will use plantain for that, but you can use the leaves of burdock for that as well. All right, burdock seed is a great diaphoretic. Now, the seed is what we're talking about here, but it's really good at helping with fevers. So when I say diaphoretic, it's something that's going to actually improve a fever. And I know that sounds weird, but when we get a fever, our body's trying to fight something off. It's actually trying to kill whatever's harming us. So it's there for a purpose. And what burdock seed is going to do is help raise the temperature a little bit, help improve that fever, help you break into a sweat. So whatever your body's trying to kill, it's going to help it kill it and just help you get onto the road to recovery. All right, burdock is an alterative, and that's a fancy term for saying it alters. So it's basically going to take you from illness to wellness and transition you from being sick to being well. And that's why they call it an alterative. So burdock is a great plant. I highly recommend that you do some more research into burdock and its benefits. I haven't even touched the surface on some of the benefits of burdock. If you suffer from allergies, seasonal allergies, or you have allergies to bee stings, yellow jackets, things of that nature, burdock root is what you're going to want to have on hand. Now I take, and we talked about this in the last video, I take a histamine formula, an antihistamine formula from Doc Jones at the Homegrown Herbalist. And I forgot to mention in our last video, we do have a link down below. So if you want to purchase herbs from the Homegrown Herbalist, you can do it through our link and we will actually get some benefit for that. It's not a whole lot, but we would love to, if you're going to purchase any, to have you purchase it through that link, and you can do that in the description box below. But burdock, so histamine, the histamine response is really most of it starts in your liver. So when you have a response to a seasonal allergy or to like a bee sting or a yellow jacket sting, the liver is mostly what's going to be activated to try to fight off that allergic response in your body. Now burdock, because it helps with the liver so much and it soothes the liver and helps really heal the liver, it's going to help with that allergic response as well. So if you take this and add this with like Mormon tea, and nettle and dock. It makes a great antihistamine, and it's natural, and like I said, it's really, really safe. So I encourage you, if you do struggle with seasonal allergies, definitely use some burdock root or go on to Doc Jones's site and purchase some of the antihistamine formula, which the main ingredient is burdock. There are so many benefits to burdock. Like I said, I've just scratched the surface, but I did want to mention the antioxidant properties. It's shown and been proven that it's a strong booster to, like we talked about, those toxins and those free radicals. If you take the root and you actually, or the leaf, and you actually do a cold infusion, that's going to have more antioxidant properties than if you turn it into a tincture. And one thing I wanted to mention, so you've got the cold infusions that we talked about. We've got the tinctures, which you can make with alcohol or glycerin. Now, if you want the fiber, if you want the inulin, you're going to need to do the root because the tincture, it's going to get, the medicinal properties will be in the alcohol, but you're going to lose that inulin. So if you're doing it for that prebiotic fiber, definitely ground up and turn it into a powder. Don't tincture it. So just wanted to.
And Doc Jones does recommend when you pull that root out of the ground, cut it up into small pieces because it becomes very tough. And that way it's already small and you can grind it up easier. But,
exactly. Yeah, well, it's like if you've seen comfrey root, which we've done videos on, it's similar to that comfrey root. So,
and it does get tough when it's out and dries. For sure. But, all right, well, I hope this was a blessing to you. And you know, if this changed your mind about having a weed in your yard, don't kill the dandelions. Dad.
No, please.
Sorry. So the other thing we have going, we are getting down to the wire for the event coming up on October 5th. Yep. And we are going to cut that off, I think, on the 1st, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because we need to get a total head count because we are doing a potluck and people need to know how many to prepare for. So get over to renewedhomestead.com/events, register for yourself, and if you're bringing family members, we need to know how many people are coming with you, so please let us know that. But we're going to cut that off on the 1st, so you've got, what, about a week? I think a week.
Yeah, about
1 week left to get signed up. So
wow, it's crazy.
Oh, man. But see, the leaves are changing already. It's beautiful. You're going to want to be out here anyway. Billy and Michelle are going to be there. The Western North Carolina's best realtor is going to be there, David and his wife. I know, shameless plug, but anyway, it's going to be a great time and it's absolutely free. So go get signed up and look at those faces. Look at those faces.
Hi, Miss
Is that not adorable?
Hi, sweetie.
But we definitely have some other animal news and we'll do another video probably tomorrow and update you because things have changed a little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. So, all right, well. Like I said, hope this was a blessing to you. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the thumbs up. And if you comment, that would be fantastic. I thought they were coming through the fence.
They're not coming through the fence.
All right, everybody. Take care. God bless. We'll see y'all in the next video.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Make it so.